Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Carolina and this is my second video where I show you how to cook vegan Christmas dishes. So if you haven't seen my previous video, click on the link here and you're going to be able to see 5 different savory vegan Christmas dishes. And in this video I'm going to show you 2 vegan Christmas desserts. So without further ado, actually before we move on, please subscribe to my channel if you like what you see, like the video as well, and comment in the section down below how are your Christmas preparations going. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So today I'm going to show you how to make a no-bake vegan cheesecake and a honey cake without the honey, obviously. So
what we're going to need for this cake is 250 grams of vegan biscuits. And just to help those of you who are in the UK, these ones by Miss Molly's Digestives are vegan, so you can use those. Then we have 120 grams of vegan melted butter. I use the Stork vegan butter. Then we have 600 grams of vegan cream cheese. We're going to use 250 grams of vegan double cream. We also have 130 grams of icing sugar here. We're going to add a few drops of this vanilla extract. And also you need a greased tin.
Let's prepare the base of the cheesecake first. So what we need for the base is we need to combine. You first need to grind these digestives into this powder, but not too fine. You can have a few chunks that are a bit bigger, and you need to melt your 120 grams of butter. So that's all melted, and we're going to pour this into the digestives and mix this together. Right, so that's done. So what we're going to do now, we're going to get our greased tin, and you want to make sure it's greased because we want to make sure that this comes off easily. Even though it's no bake, we still want to, avoid any sort of stickage. So pour this, or rather transfer all of this into your baking tray, or perhaps cooling tray. Don't know what I would call that. And make sure to press it evenly into the bottom of the tin. So you can just use your fingers. It's a lot easier that way. All right, so this is nice and pressed and stiff. And what we're gonna want to do is put this in the fridge while we make the actual cheesecake. So now let's move on to the cream cheese filling. So you're gonna want to open your cream cheese packets, get a spoon, and put them into a bowl. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have a whisk at hand. You want to add some of this vanilla paste. You can use any other vanilla paste or vanilla beans even. We also want to put this icing sugar in. All right, and we're going to want to whisk this until it forms a nice even consistency. So to add a bit of tang to this, I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice to this. So now I have a 270 milliliter bottle of double cream, and I'm going to add 250 milliliters. So I'm going to eyeball it. That's about probably this much. And you want to beat it for around perhaps 2 minutes, not too long, because you don't want it to start separating and you don't want the double cream to start going really hard and kind of unmovable. So you still want to make sure that it retains some of that liquidity. Right, so this is the perfect consistency, as you can see. If you do this and the ribbon remains on the surface for a little while and disappears after like a couple of seconds, then that's the type of consistency you want. Now, let's get our base out of the fridge. What to do now is place this on top of the base. Actually, let's give this a quick taste test. That is really delicious. Perfect. What you're going to want to do now is place this in the fridge overnight and let it cool. Okay, so now let's move on to the second cake. So this cake consists of 3 different layers. So we're going to make the first layer first, and you don't want to preheat your oven because you have to leave this dough in the fridge to cool down for 20 minutes.
So we need 200 grams of vegan butter, 400 grams of plain flour, 100 grams of cornstarch or potato starch, 200 grams of what is it called, icing sugar. We need 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and half a teaspoon of salt, 5 tablespoons of milk, and 2 tablespoons of maple syrup.
So, all these ingredients aside, I have sifted all of my dry ingredients already. And now, all I need to do is just add a bit of salt. Now, I'm gonna put the butter in. Oh God. And I'm gonna start kneading it. So I wanna work the butter into the dry ingredients. Oh, I can taste the icing sugar in the egg. Come.
Oh, I see.
Oh my god. It's like I'm eating icing sugar in the egg. Just soak it in. Can you taste it?
Sweet.
So you wanna kind of do this until you get to this consistency. So it's like kind of wet sand consistency. You have like, if you squeeze it, you get like a ball forming, but you wanna make sure that it's like really nice, loose sort of crumbs. And then you're gonna add the 5 tablespoons of any sort of plant-based milk. In this case, it's oat milk. And you want to add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Could you come put the maple syrup in? Did you get the tablespoon measure? Alright, second one.
Oh, there's one.
Right, so I've divided the dough into 3 equal pieces. And now I'm gonna put them in some cling film and put them into the fridge for 20 minutes. Okay, so now for the second layer of the cake, which is gonna lay on top of our top layer of dough or crust. So we want to melt 120 grams of butter, and I also have walnuts. Are these called walnuts? Yes. I also have some 300 grams of walnuts. So I'm going to toast them, but in 2 stages because there's a lot of them. So I'm going to melt this butter on medium heat. You don't want to burn it. To that I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm also going to add 100 grams of brown sugar, but you can also add any other sugar, white sugar or the maroon sugar. And also 2 tablespoons of our maple syrup. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like. The butter and the sugars are going to try to separate a little, but this is fine. This sort of consistency is good. And I also forgot to mention that I chopped these nuts a little before toasting them because I wanted them to be a bit smaller. So now that this is all nice and sort of even, we're going to add these walnuts into it. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like, and now we're going to let it cool a little. Now we're going to make the what is it called, the buttercream, or like the custard filling for the cake. So we need 400 grams of milk. Will you, Mr. Cameraman, doing it the old-fashioned way?
Yeah.
So we're going to split the milk into 2. So we have 300 milliliters of milk in here, and we're going to warm it up. And then we have the other 100 milliliters in here, and that's because we need 40 grams of cornstarch or potato starch to thicken this up. We also have 100 grams of sugar that goes in, and we have some vanilla paste. You can just use any other paste or vanilla beans or anything like that, and that's locked. Right, so we're just going to squirt a bit of that in. Be generous, this is very good stuff. Okay, and now we're going to want to mix the cornstarch in with the milk. We're going to make sure that we dissolve all of that cornstarch because we don't want any lumps. We can move on to a whisk. I have this little French whisk. Right, so the milk is heating up. Keep stirring it because we don't want that milk to burn.
Let's pause.
Let's pause. Alright, as you can see, it's starting to bubble. Reduce the heat to about 9. And we're gonna pour this right in and come and have a look. It's gonna start thickening up in a minute. Alright, and this is where you want it with the thickness. It's nice and thick. It's also going to thicken up a little bit more because when it cools down, it just does that. And we're going to transfer this. We're going to put the cling film on top because we don't want it to get stiff. Now we're going to put it by the window to cool. Now look at the mess. We're going to bake the bases. So let's move on to that. Right, so first thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. I think that's like 375 Fahrenheit, but I'm not sure. just made that up, don't listen to me. Might be, it might not. I'm going crazy, that's all I know.
Very close, 356.
Alright, so we've got our doughs out, so we're just going to put some parchment paper on these trays. I'm going to put a little bit of butter on the bottom so that the paper sticks. Alright, and now we're going to distribute this dough evenly. So we have our bases. That is even as I could get them to be. And now I'm going to put them both in the oven. So I'm going to put this one up in the middle. This one on top. Ah!
It's hot!
Is it? And then I'll swap them round. But I'm going to put them in for 15 minutes. And after 7 minutes I'll check them, swap them round. And then put them in for another 7 minutes. Alright, so this is the top crust. And now the other two are out of the oven and they're cooling down. And what we're going to do, we're going to do something really cool. We're going to get our walnut mixture and we're going to put it on top and we're going to bake it like that. Alright, that looks about right. Now we're going to go put it in the oven. Same time, 15 minutes. And then we're going to take it out and cool it down. Alright, so now we're going to make the custard filling for the cake. So we need 250 grams of butter, and this is obviously vegan butter, and it's unsalted butter. So I'm going to add a big pinch of salt because this custard that we made earlier is really sweet. So you want to kind of, balance it out, bring out those sweet notes a little bit more, but not too much. Alright, so now I'm gonna beat the butter until it's nice and white. So let's do that. You can zoom in. Alright, so this is the type of consistency that you want. It's white, fluffy, and now we're going to be adding some of this custard to it. Just spoonful by spoonful. So turn it on low, medium. Fortunately, the custard filling has split, as you can see. This is not what you want. The butter and the custard have separated, so it doesn't look good. So I've read online, to rescue it, we can try and put some hot water into it. So I'm gonna keep mixing it, and I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of hot water and then see how that goes. Right, so that didn't work. So now I'm gonna put it in the microwave. That's what they said, for 10 seconds, and then mix it again. Hopefully that does something. Alright, so it's the next day now, and as you could see, that custard cream did not work. It completely split. I could not rescue it, and that's fine. I cried overnight, all night, and I'm over it now. No, I'm joking. I didn't cry all night, but I was a bit distraught. So I had to go and get some butter again. Okay, so I looked in my cupboard yesterday. I remembered that I bought something that would be useful for this. So I was like, should I do that? Should I not? But then I was like, I don't really have that much time. So I have this All Pro plant-based custard, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm not going to make my own custard again. Yeah, I can't be bothered. Also, we had other issues yesterday. The cakes broke. Let me show you. I have cracked cakes, as you can see over there. I cracked it when I was trying to wrap it. So that's alright. So what we're going to do now, basically I'm going to whip up my margarine again, and we're going to really slowly add this to the whipped up margarine, and also I'm going to have some vanilla extract. So let's do that. So as you can see, this is nicely blended now. It's nice, white and fluffy, and I also added the vanilla bean paste. So now what I'm going to do is start adding the custard, but just a little dollop by dollop. Right, so I have now finished mixing this, and it's all nice and smooth. Yes, let me just get the stuff from the bottom. And I have tasted it, but because that custard was not too sweet, this isn't too sweet, it's more savoury. So I'm going to improvise, and I'm going to add a bit of this maple syrup while I'm blending it. Right, so I've added about 10 tablespoons of maple syrup, because maple syrup isn't that sweet. So I really wanted this to be slightly sweeter than the other things, because the other things are more, you know, are not that sweet. So I'm going to try it. I do like this. It's not overly too sweet. Obviously, if you would like more, you can add more. You can also add other sugars to this. I'm going to give this a final mix, and then we're going to be assembling the cake. So I have my custard cream, and I have a little offset spatula, and I'm going to be using this to dollop it onto the cake. So first, I need to get rid of this layer, because this is the top layer. We'll take the parchment paper off later, but first I have a cracked. This one is cracked, so that one's going to go in the middle. So we're going to put this one on the bottom, and we're going to assemble it on this tray. What you're going to want to do is put this on the bottom. Get what you're going to need for this as well is any sort of like sour or tangy jam. So I'm going to use blackcurrant. I'm going to want to dollop some of this jam on here, and we're going to want to spread it out. Alright, so that is spread out evenly. Now we're going to dollop half of this custard cream. Alright, so that looks good. Now what we're going to have to do is put this cracked layer on top of this custard. So that's going to take a bit of dexterity, but we'll manage. So I would just give you little advice right now. when you're making this cake. You really have to be careful with these crusts. You don't want to be lifting them and, you know, doing yoga or any sort of you know, extreme movement with that. No, I'm joking, but seriously, you don't want to be handling them in a rough manner, because that's what I did yesterday, and unfortunately it cracked. That's okay, we're still gonna have a nice cake. I'm not gonna get too upset about it. Alright, and now this top layer. You'll have to be careful with this because I cracked it yesterday a little. Alright. Right, so there you have it. This is your cake. It's beautiful. Obviously you can trim off the edges, but I'm not going to do that because I don't worry too much about that. It looks nice and rustic. And you're going to have to let it sit in a cool place. If you don't have a shed or anything like that, just put it in the fridge. And this cake tastes the best after like 2-3 days, but obviously we can't wait that long, so overnight is going to be fine. Alright guys, wow, so look at these cakes. This is cake number 1. Our cheesecake. Look how amazing it looks. I did put it in the freezer for a couple of hours, so you can do the same. And because it wasn't really chilling in the fridge that well, because I have a lot of stuff in there. So I would advise you do the same if you are preparing for Christmas. And look at this cake. So yeah, I'm not going to try these obviously because although I have tasted the, you know, the components. But yeah, these are delicious. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check my other video on savory recipes, and yeah, I hope that you try some of these out. Even if you're not vegan, give these a go and see how you like them. And I hope that you have an amazing Christmas. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed what you saw, and also subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching my videos. So yeah, fantastic. I will see you soon in my next video.